Hey everybody, fixing to get started off with TNT, Twisted New Testament. Tonight's topic: has the church replaced the Jews, the replacement theology, as well as Messianics denying Jesus or Yeshua, all for the sake of conversion. It's going to be interesting, so stay tuned. Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of TNT, the Twisted New Testament, episode number 61, with Rabbi Stuart Federow from Houston, Texas. Welcome back, our sweet Rabbi. How are you? Such a pleasure to have you.
I am doing fine.
Finger dance. Got to do it. Worst case scenario, it always brings smiles to so many people. There you go. It's good to have.
Don't ask me exactly where, because it'll take me decades to find it again. And I'll probably get the quote wrong.
Okay.
I think it's about Purim, but I'll have to check again. I don't remember. But I know the quotation. Something to the effect of Reshut v'kayam lehishtapesh leitim krovot. It is both fitting and proper to make a fool of oneself on a regular basis.
What? What is that? I'm not familiar with that.
Well, I ran across it 100,000 years ago, and I can't help but love it.
That's funny. Oh my
gosh. It is both fitting and proper to make a fool of yourself on a regular basis.
Wow.
Is it crowboat?
My guess is for the sake of keeping one humble.
Any number. It's an exercise in humility.
Right.
Okay. It is always good to not take yourself too seriously. There's a lot of good reasons, but those are certainly two very good ones.
No doubt, no doubt. Wow. Well, that's kind of cool. Never heard that before, but that's kind of neat. I mean, I've heard the concept, like I said, with the whole humility thing.
Well, I think it's probably tied in somewhere with, dressing up for Purim. Gotcha. It may not be Talmudic, it could be post-Talmud, but I never remember where I remember this stuff from.
That is okay. That is okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, the number is on your screen, 855.
Again, William, I can't even blame it on being old. I've always been like that.
Oh, man. Speaking of that, I'm noticing more and more gray hair today. So, it's like I actually trimmed my beard. I was almost going to shave my beard off and just keep the goatee looking thing, because that most of the gray hair is actually along the sides. And I was like, if I can at least get rid of that. I don't want to dye my hair or beard. I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. But I figured I'd rather just shave it off. A good thing about having no hair, like if I keep losing my hair on top, I'm going to shave my head and pop in a sucker.
When I get older, losing my hair.
I'm going to put on a hat.
Many years.
People are going to call me Telly Savalas. I don't know if you remember those old days, but yeah. Remember Telly Savalas? Was it Kojak,
of course.
Right? Oh, man. Yeah.
Kojak.
Yeah, that was epic. Epic. Very cool. No doubt.
Okay, so let's say I wanted to upload something to the chat.
Okay.
A file. Is there a way to do that, or is that
you can try. You can try.
I don't see anything to punch on.
What you can try to do is do a click and drag. If you have the file in a folder or something, or a file something on your desktop, you can click it, drag it over, and see if you can drop it into the chat. I don't think it'll work. I've never tried it, but it could.
I don't think it'll work either.
No bad hair days, Mia. That's funny. Shalom, George, Delane, Joe, Lori.
Justin, Mia, Delane.
Apparently, I'm not paying attention.
Joe, Lori, Fernando.
And the caller.
Kelsey, Lynn, Jan.
Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Larissa from Washington State.
Hi, Larissa. Welcome to the show. Welcome.
Hi. I have walked away from the New Testament and Jesus in the last 3 weeks. And I'm having a major identity crisis.
I'm sure you are.
Before we even go any further, I have to tell you something. There is a new Facebook friend, Laura. Hey, Sarah. Sarah, come here. Quick. David's stuck at the door. If you don't mind, let him in, please. Sorry, my children are running rampant. This new Facebook friend, and she has been recently out as well, and we literally just got off the phone. We probably talked for an hour, maybe somewhere around an hour on the phone, going over these emotions and these feelings. And I tell you, you are not alone. I mean, this is something that just about everybody goes through. So you're in the right place. So you're in good hands with Hall State. I'm just kidding. You are in good hands.
And remember, if there's anything at all we can do for you, we will certainly try.
Certainly. So what is your question? Or if you have a couple questions, we don't mind.
Well, so for example, today I was out working in the yard and I disturbed a little bird's nest. I didn't even realize that it was an upside down bucket on the fence and a bird had built a nest in it. And there were 2 little eggs inside, and one of them fell out and broke, and it was all bloody. And I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do? Do I just put it broken back in the nest, or do I crush it and put it out of its misery, because I don't want it to suffer? And so I decided to go ahead and crush it and bury it and just end its little life, because I didn't want it to suffer. But I've been sitting here all day feeling guilty, because now I feel like there's this God that's going to punish me when I sin.
No. That is not how God works. That's not how God works. Okay, first of all, you disturbed it by accident. This wasn't first-degree premeditated cold-blooded murder. Okay, this was an accident, and you have to understand that. Okay, so that's one thing. Second of all, as soon as it fell out, if you saw blood, it was already gone. I mean, you may have thought that you've whatever the word is, finished the job, shall we say, by stepping on it. But I'm telling you, if you saw blood, it's it was in the egg. If it was in the egg and it cracked open, it can't survive that. And if it's bleeding, which it obviously had to have been before you did anything else, it's already gone.
Right.
So it was all an accident. All an accident. And what was her name again? Sarah?
Larissa.
Okay, couldn't hear you. Larissa, let me tell you, and if you'll pardon my saying so, this is one of the single greatest attractions, no matter how false it is, of Christianity. People always feel guilty for things for which they should not feel guilty. And Christianity comes along and says, oh, if you feel guilty, okay, good, I'm glad you feel guilty. Now give your life to Jesus, it'll take the guilt away. Right. And it's real quick and easy grace is what they call it. Okay, it's very comforting to think that, I'm a horrible human being, I'm a bad person, I'm terrible, I'm lousy, this is a broken, I hate the word, this is a broken world, and I'm a broken person, and it's a broken society, broken. And they come along of, I'm a human being, and as a human being, I make mistakes. And they're just centering in on that, making you feel worse. You cannot be perfect. Whoever said we're supposed to be perfect?
Right. That's
there's a
brilliant.
There's a line in the Bible which says, well, I'm not sure it's in the Bible. I think it's actually the New Testament, but it says something to the effect of everybody falls short of the glory of God. Mm-hmm. Well, of course we fall short of the glory of God. We're not God. God's glory is always going to be greater than human glory. It's a silly, stupid statement. Everybody falls short of the glory of God. But it feeds on the feelings that people have of inadequacy. And then they come along and say, but we've got the cure. Buy what we've got. We've got Jesus, and he can die for your sins and take away all your guilt.
So they create the need. I said they create the need, and then they give you a solution that's already made for you for the need.
They convince you you've got an illness you do not have, and then tell you they're the only ones who've got a cure for the illness that you don't even have.
Right.
Can I ask another question?
Yes. Before you do, let me one more final comment on your first thing. As a third point with the whole egg thing, if anything, what you did was an act of kindness, not an act of cruelty. Remember
exactly.
That. So.
Okay.
So go ahead with your second. Oh, good. What's your other question?
So, in Christianity, they teach you, well, actually the church doesn't teach you, but the New Testament teaches you that you should crucify your flesh and you should walk in the Spirit. And so the way I interpreted that is that I would, I'd do my best not to sin, and I'd walk and live a righteous life, keeping my eyes always focused on God. And I felt like God had dropped it in my spirit, years and years ago when I became a Christian, that I was like a Caleb, that I didn't look aside to the left or to the right, that I was like a Josiah, where Josiah doesn't look to the right or to the left, but they always kept their eyes focused on God. So can you I guess my question is, what exactly does that mean to not look to the left or to the right, but keeping your eyes on God? Because the way I interpreted it as a Christian was to not walk in the flesh, but walk in the Spirit, meaning not sin, but live a righteous life.
So isn't the idea, that whole idea of that statement in general, isn't it from the New Testament, Rabbi? Or
go ahead.
Larissa, go ahead.
Well, the Caleb and Josiah part is what I want clarification on. You can throw out the New Testament stuff.
No, but do you have an actual site reference as to where that came from regarding those two? Because I don't know.
Well,
I can look it up.
Where it says that he becomes king.
I mean, as far as not going to the left or to the right. Okay, so.
No, that's,
Maybe that's not in the Tanakh. Maybe
that's why I'm saying I think that may be a New Testament thing only.
Okay.
I mean, the idea of it, I guess you could say, would be there's wisdom in it for sure.
Sounds
right. I'm looking too. Let me see. It could be
Proverbs 4:27. Okay. Now let me find it somewhere.
Oh yeah, I see it too. Do not turn to the right nor to the left. Keep your where'd it go? Keep your foot from evil.
Deuteronomy chapter 5 verse 32.
And Caleb, I think, is Numbers 14, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense. I think my problem is I've heard it so much, but usually every time I've heard it has been in the New Testament. So okay, cool. So now that we've actually found them, there's a Joshua 1:7 has one. Also Isaiah 30:21 cross references. Okay, so what is the idea? What is it? Let's rephrase the question, if you don't mind, and tell me, Larissa, if this is kind of what you mean. So, if the Bible says, "Keep your foot from evil, don't walk to the left nor to the right," how do I apply that to my own life, being maybe a non-Jew? I guess you could say, because there would be difference in that scenario. But is that kind of where your question is directed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So if you want, let's go ahead and hang up, and it'll free open the phone lines. And then
wait. Let's not hang up on Larissa that quickly.
Okay, sure.
Okay, just bear with me. I know somebody tried to beep in, I think.
Oh, yeah. But one more thing real fast before you go. Larissa, are you on Facebook?
I am, but I deactivated my account because I was just feeling so overwhelmed with all the different input from people. So, but I can reactivate it.
Okay, so either that or create a new account. Find me, send me a friend request, and I'll get you hooked up with a ton of people on this journey, and that way you can have a separate account to where you can feel free to do your thing, and also you'll have tons of resources there. So second account, and look for me on Facebook, okay?
And me too.
Yeah, and Rabbi Stuart Federow. If you can't find me, you can definitely find Rabbi Stuart Federow.
Yeah, but it's not Rabbi; it's just Stuart Federow.
Okay, Stuart Federow, and then and we'll get you set up with some people. Trust me, you are not alone. I'm telling you, you're going to be amazed to see how many people are actually in the exact same shoes that you're in, or at least have been there recently. So just be encouraged. Mm-hmm. Okay, Rabbi, go ahead and talk with the rest of it. Sure.
What I was going to say is, I can tell you how I understand the concept, okay? And that is, when it says don't look to the right or the left, it's don't be distracted from the ultimate goal. And to me, the ultimate goal is doing the best we can, which is never going to be perfect, nor is it meant to be. Okay,
right.
That's another major contrast between us and them, between the Tanakh and the Christian's New Testament, between Judaism and Christianity. Okay, we don't believe God brings us into the world not knowing we're flawed people and then expects us to be without flaw. God knows he's bringing into a creation, into life, those who are imperfect, and then doesn't turn around and say, now that I've made you imperfect, I demand that you be perfect, or I'm going to condemn you for being the very way that I made you. That makes no sense from a Jewish perspective. But what's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is to understand that we have a relationship with each other as fellow human beings and creatures made in the image of God, little lower than the angels, and we have to have a relationship with God. That's what God wants. Mm-hmm. Okay, and to try our best and to do what we can, and not get distracted by shtuyot, junk, garbage, okay, shtus. I don't know what else to call it. Okay. In other words, if we do our best to have our relationship with God, learn from God what our relationship is supposed to be with each other, then God will take us as we are. God wants to see that we're trying our best, okay, and accept us as we are. Okay, what does God say to Cain after Cain murdered Abel? Okay, what does God say to Cain after Cain murdered Abel? Okay.
Yeah, if you do well, will you not be accepted?
In other words, cool your jets. Just because I didn't take your offering doesn't mean I hate you. Don't take it personally. It's not about you. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then God says that when you get that bad attitude, it's really easy to fall into sin.
Meaning that the bad attitude isn't sin. It's what you do with that attitude, or what you can do with that attitude.
Exactly. Right. If you do well, won't you be accepted?
Right.
But if you don't do well, sin is at the door.
Yeah.
And it's going to try to get you, but you will rule over it. In other words, we're perfectly capable when opportunities come to do something bad not to do it. We are quite capable of choosing what's right. But there are going to be times where we're going to mess up. And for that, there's also, if you go 35 in a 20-mile-an-hour school zone, you get a ticket. Okay, how do you get back on the right side of the law? You don't get back on the right side of the law by running away.
Right.
You get back on the right side of the law by doing exactly what the law says to get back on the right side of the law, which is
pay your fine, go to court.
Pay your fine, go to court, or take the class. Okay, and don't do it again, or the next time, they won't be so easy on you.
And to take that one even a little bit further, you're not really even on the wrong side of the law until you run from them.
Exactly.
It's after you decide, I'm not going to follow through with your laws, that's when you're in trouble.
Right. And it is the law itself that tells us how to stay on the right side of the law when we mess up. Okay, what happened with the people of Jonah? They recognized they did something wrong. They felt sorry for the fact that they did something wrong. Okay, the people of Nineveh, they confessed their mistakes. Okay, cried mightily to God. They prayed. Neither ate nor drank anything. They fasted. And God saw that and it says explicitly, God saw their deeds, not their faith, what they did, which is to stop doing the bad, start doing the good, and God forgave them.
Right. No sacrifices. No blood sacrifices.
No blood sacrifices, but don't go to the right or the left. Okay, it means don't be distracted. Understand that God is waiting for us to have a relationship with God, and it's from that relationship with God that we learn how to treat each other, made in the image of God, a little lower than the angels. Christianity wants us to emphasize sin. We're sinners. We're bad. We're horrible. We're broken. God, I can't stand that. You got two people. You got two children. One of them is told from the moment of birth, you're a sinner, you're bad, you need Jesus, you're terrible, you're horrible, you're broken, it's a broken world, it's terrible. And the other one is told, you are made in the image of God, little lower than the angels. You are not born evil, but you're not born good either. And it's your choice of what you're going to make yourself into by choosing to do right or choosing to do wrong. Which of the two is going to have a better sense of self, a better self-image? Which of the two is going to have a better, what's the word? Not self-image, what's the fancy term they always throw around now?
Justification? I don't know.
They're going to have a better view of themselves.
Okay.
They're not going to grow up hating themselves and thinking that it's a broken world and they're broken people.
Right.
They're going to have a very good view of themselves, that they are worthy of respect and can either be good or bad based on their own choices. And most people are basically good because, I mean, come on, how many people have you murdered lately?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
It's self-image. Self-image, thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Better self-image.
Gotcha.
Okay. One of them is going to have a good self-image, know the responsibility for their behaviors on their own shoulders, and the other one is going to think they're pieces of crap from the moment of their birth, when they're starting to be told, you're a sinner, you're broken, everything's bad, horrible, whatever. And that, yeah, more than anything, what does God want? Mm-hmm. To do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. Not to be perfect. It doesn't say you have to toe the line every single time. Okay? To walk humbly with your God. The end.
Right.
And when people start looking to the left and to the right, when they start getting their eyes off the goal or whatever, that's like saying to Cain, okay, you take things personally, okay, you're going to be really ripe for the picking of somebody who wants to mislead you and take you in a bad direction.
True. One thing I've noticed too with church theology and church thinking in general is that because most of them, I say most respectfully, most of them have like completely disregard the Torah, the laws of God, but by doing so, there's like a void there that they need to do something else to make themselves look holy. And don't get send me any hate mail. I'm just saying, not you, Larissa, but all the people watching. But there's all of a sudden there's this need to do things, to claim things, to express yourself in a way that makes you look holier than the Jewish people. And so they say, don't do this, don't drink, don't watch movies, don't listen to secular music, don't all this stuff, don't. If you're doing all these don'ts, then you've looked to the left or to the right. So their expression of left and right is a very it's different. It's not like the reality of things. There's so many taboo. Everything to Christianity is taboo, and it's like they have to do something, because if they're not keeping the laws of God, which Deuteronomy says that it's the holiness, it's the wisdom of God that He has expressed His Torah through the nation of Israel, right? And so since they're not keeping it, if they don't have something to cling to, then they're not going to look any different than the worldly people are. So, right. don't.
By the way, the word was self-esteem.
Self-esteem. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, all the people on the chat.
So Larissa, do you have did that clarify your question?
Yeah, a lot of what he said really helped, even just the goal of what my goal is now. Before I was trying to start a ministry and do all this other stuff because, Jesus says, go out into all the world and preach the kingdom of heaven. And now it's like, okay, what is my goal?
Right.
And okay, my goal is just to live my life and to be the best person I can be and have my relationship with my God.
Exactly. But how does that get expressed? How does that get done in the real world? How does that, how do you learn more and more about it? And Larissa, I hope you seriously consider fully converting to Judaism.
Why is that?
Well, because I'm a rabbi. What would you expect me to say? I think that the single greatest way to express that relationship with God is through the commandments, the mitzvot. It's just something to consider. I'm just asking you to consider it. That's all. Don't discount it completely.
But there is no need.
Right.
I didn't say there was a need.
Right.
I hope she considers it.
Right.
Yeah. I feel overwhelmed by all the different Hebrew words and the whole fact
it's just a language.
I know. And then, there's a lot to learn.
You don't have to.
I have a Tanakh. I have a Chumash that I'm reading with all the commentary for the Torah and my Tanakh. And I'm reading every bit of scripture and every bit of commentary. And
do you live in an area that has synagogues in it? Are you in the middle of nowhere, state of Washington?
I'm in Tacoma, Washington, and my cousin, she follows Torah, and she's been part of why I've been researching, because she's bugged me about it for the last 2 years. And she looked online for me, and she couldn't really find any except for one in Seattle. And traffic is so horrible between Tacoma and Seattle. It's like a 2-hour drive. It's just horrible.
And Tacoma doesn't have any kind of Jewish population?
They have Messianic.
They don't count. They're Christians. They're Christians in Jewish clothing.
I live in a very, very liberal. Yeah, I live in a very liberal state.
Oh, I know. So, my brother lives in Seattle.
Yeah.
We have very interesting conversations on the phone. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your help, and I'll make that Facebook. I'll join up with your Facebook group, and I'll
definitely
meet you in there. And
Larissa, one final word of encouragement: you don't feel like you have to learn everything overnight. Take your time. Don't stress out over it. Just keep looking. Right. Just keep your eyes fixed on Hashem and keep studying. Don't feel like you've got to cross a certain threshold by a certain time, otherwise He's not happy with you. That's just not the way things are.
Exactly.
So just take your time. Take your time. Enjoy your journey. Enjoy your journey.
Exactly. And use your God-given intelligence. You wouldn't be asking these questions if you didn't have the intelligence to ask.
Yep. Very good, Larissa.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, you two.
Thank you, Larissa.
Any way we can help.
We'll look forward to seeing you on Facebook soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right, Shalom. All right, good deal. That's interesting. Okay, so the other person didn't call back, so that's fine. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and roll on into our...
Just one thing, because we have a couple of comments on the thing, on the chat. Let me...
I'll let you locate those.
Thank you.
Since you've already seen them, you know where to look. I just saw it. Right, that's funny. Okay, let's see that.
Okay, Mimi, which is, what's his name? I can't, says...
Oh, yeah,
Shmuel. I think he's referring to the comment to Cain about, sin is crouching at the door, but you can master it, that was said before Cain killed Abel, not after. What's your point? Even when jealousy gets so great, it can lead you to sin. Your own emotions can lead you to sin, which is what happened. And then he murdered Abel.
Yeah, and that is a good point. I was thinking it was before, but I couldn't remember. But like you said, the point still stands. If Cain,
it doesn't have anything to do with the point.
Yeah, whether Cain killed Abel or not, it's not even important. It is, but not with the point you brought up, which means you can still. You can kind of like look a little to the left, a little to the right, and that's not sin. It's like when you really go out of bounds, that's when it becomes sin. But the church teaches that the moment you even think, like for example, they say if you even thought a negative thought, you're worthy of hellfire.
Yeah.
And it's like that's just not true. And that was the point you were covering. And so the timing, the chronology of that statement versus when the event happened
there's just so much about Christianity that feeds on the guilty. And if a person has a thought that's a bad thought, even if they do absolutely nothing, the thought goes in their head, the thought goes out of their head. Oh my God, I had a bad thought. I'm a bad human being. I'm horrible.
Right.
And Judaism's response is that we have an inclination to do good, an inclination to do evil. Yetzer hara, Yetzer hatov. Okay. And when we get a thought, of course we get a thought. Part of us is a Yetzer hara, the inclination to do evil.
Right.
But just because we had the thought means absolutely, positively nothing. It's when we dwell on the thought. It's when we, stay in the domain of the thought, okay, enjoy our stay there or whatever, and then act on it, that becomes problematic.
Right.
It's not the having the thought.
Right.
It's continuing to pour over the thought and make it part of your, and then acting on it. That's the real
indeed
danger.
Okay, so now, if you don't mind, without looking back at the comments, because we need to stick with the topic at hand on the actual.
I know.
What am I hearing? I'm hearing feedback. I don't know why.
My thingy came out of the speaker thingy.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the main topic is going to be after we take this call. Hey, callers take precedence on all the shows.
Always.
Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Texas.
Texas. Who am I speaking with?
Scott.
Scott, welcome to the show.
All right. Great.
By the way, I'm in Houston too. I'm in Houston, Texas. I'm in Texas also.
Are you still with us, Scott? Oh, hey, I think he may have been having problems with his phone. Somebody else called in while he was calling too, so I have a feeling the phone's going to ring any moment now. So
Scott, call back.
Yeah, you want to call back for sure. There is. Nope, that's not Scott because that's not the same number as he called from. We'll take this call. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
I'm Rodney.
Hey, Rodney. Welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Rodney from Louisiana. Well, welcome. Welcome. Do you have a question for Rabbi?
Yes. I guess so. It's going to be a question with a little bit of background.
Okay. So are you just trying to give us context for your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Me and my wife were in Christianity. We spent a while there. We left Christianity. We were heavy into it. We went into the Messianic movement. The whole time we just couldn't put two and two together.
Okay.
Nothing ever matched. And long story short, I'm sure you've heard the story. We heard the anti-missionaries, Tovia Singer and Michael Skobac, and we came into truth. We started studying truth, left the Messianic movement, and as usual, the usual thing you catch leaving Messianic movement. My question is, and there's a lot of people out there exactly like us. We're on Facebook. We watch it every day. It's what now? What do we do now? Where we're at? I mean, what do we do now? I mean, after the fact, a lot of people do it after the fact. I had my DNA ran and everything, and come to find out I'm Jewish.
Wow.
Not a lot Jewish.
Right.
But I'm Jewish.
Through your mother or your father?
To my mother, 3 grandmothers.
Wow.
My third.
Right. That's okay. Cool. That's definitely legit. So the answer.
Remember, it tells us about your ancestry. It doesn't necessarily tell us about you. But go ahead.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I found out. Excuse me. I found out this after the fact.
Right.
So did my wife. She's in the same boat. She found this out after the fact. But it's where do we go from here? A lot of people in our situation in the U.S., we live in places to where this is not at our door. We're surrounded by Christianity. This is not common.
Right.
And this is a common path to follow. And it's like you look at one side of the Noahide movement and you look at the Ger and you're thinking to yourself, no, I want to serve God completely. You know what I'm saying? And so it's you're kind of stuck in a quandary. You're in a career, you have kids, grandkids. I mean, you built a life, and then all of a sudden, your life's kind of turned upside down. And like me and my wife, the only options we have is we have Reformed synagogues close, and it's just not our cup of tea.
Right.
I mean, we've studied what is Reform, what is conservative, what is Orthodox, and it's like it's a quandary. Okay.
Yep.
And that is my question.
What now?
What would be the next step?
Well, it sounds like Rabbi kind of hit the nail on the head earlier with Larissa on the phone. He mentioned to her she may want to consider conversion. It sounds like you guys already have. And so I would say definitely if this is really driving you this strongly, that I would have to say the same thing for you as well. I would definitely consider conversion. But what now being that you only have Reform local to you, that's something I can't really answer. I feel like I just dropped something. Maybe. Okay. Anyways, Rabbi.
You said you dropped him? Is he still on?
No. I heard something hit the floor. I dropped something. I didn't know what it was.
Okay. All
Sorry,
right.
that was my distraction.
Right.
I apologize.
What I'm going to say is this. Okay. I don't know where in Louisiana you live, but I know Louisiana. Okay. I lived in Mississippi for 5 great years. Okay. There are a number of things that you can do. Okay. One thing is...
I'll just say that I had to make it a little easier for you.
Okay.
We're in the Lafayette area.
Lafayette? Okay.
We're in the Lafayette, yes.
You're in the Lafayette area? Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what you said.
Okay. You still have a number of possibilities. Okay. I live in Houston, by the way. I did a funeral outside of Lafayette, Louisiana, years ago. At any rate, the point is that there's a number of things that you can do. One thing you can do, and of course, for all of these, you're going to have to make your own choice, your own decision. But one thing you could do would be you are not alone. Like we've been saying earlier tonight to Larissa. There are plenty of people around that you don't even know are there until you go try to find them, who are in exactly the same position you are in. Start your own group. Meet Wednesday night, Thursday, that time. Okay, meet with them and start your own chaverah. From the word chaver meaning friend. Okay, it means a group of people who are like sharing their lives with each other. They're making a group together where you celebrate holidays, holy days, and life cycle events and socialize with each other. Okay, and you're getting together on a regular weekly basis with people who are in your same position. How to do that? You could put in newspaper press releases. Press releases are free, to be blunt. Okay, you can look on Facebook and see if people on similar what do they call it? Pages. Okay, that are interesting to you. Ask people is anybody here in Louisiana? Is there anybody near Lafayette, Louisiana? Okay, there are ways to find them. Put an article in or a press release. We're going to meet at the local library at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and we're going to discuss and start using key words like we're going to start studying Torah together, the Parashat HaShavua, the weekly portion of the Torah. We're going to study whatever interests you. We're going to do it together and see who comes. Okay, that's one thing you can do. In addition to that, or instead of that, either or, okay, you can also start attending the synagogues that are the closest and most convenient to you, even if they are not your political cup of tea. In other words, be part of them for what you can take from them, okay, adult education classes, religious celebrations. And when they start getting leftist liberal on you, ignore it. At least you'll be with people who are somewhat knowledgeable about the Bible, about Judaism, about how to do a Shabbat at home, how to do how to make a sukkah in your backyard so you can celebrate Sukkot. You'll be with people who do these things. Okay, conservative, Orthodox, Reform, and you take what you be a sieve. Okay, filter out the things you like and keep it, and let the rest sort of drift through. Okay, there are websites. Not what do you call it? William, what are we doing right now through Facebook? What's it called?
Social media. Oh, you talking about the podcasting? Or are you talking about social media in general?
No, but not podcast like it's stored somewhere, but live.
Yeah, live shows. Yeah, live streaming. Is that what you're talking about?
Streaming. Okay. There are synagogues that stream their religious services. So you may not have to go, into Lafayette. You may not have to go into Metairie or New Orleans or whatever. Okay, and you can use the internet. And again, okay, if most of the time, obviously, it's going to be conservative and Reform who are going to be streaming their services. And if they start waxing leftist liberal, ignore it. Take what you want from them. Take what you can from them. And leave the chaff, thresh the wheat out and leave the chaff, or whatever it's called.
Which is no different than we're all used to doing to begin with,
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
I said that's what we're all used to doing to begin with,
Of course.
So just continue that path. Just, find what makes sense and go with it,
Exactly. And
of course.
This is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is there synagogues in Houston that do formal conversions to where you can?
Yes. The United Orthodox Synagogue. Every single synagogue I know of across the country. Okay, synagogues I'm talking about. Okay. Not necessarily Chabad, but I even think that they are getting more into doing this now than they've ever done before. But almost every single synagogue I know of have an introduction to Judaism class and have conversion directly through the rabbi or with a specific class for conversion to Judaism. And if you go to their congregation's websites, they'll tell you time, date, place, etc. Okay, my congregation does, I do, but it's conservative, and I don't pretend to be Orthodox. I have an Orthodox upbringing. I'm ordained by the Reform movement, and I'm serving a conservative pulpit because I don't fit in anywhere. And I used to say that jokingly, but for various reasons, it's definitely true.
Well, you're definitely not Reform. I don't care what your Smicha says.
But I am seen as a Reform rabbi because I was ordained by the Reform movement.
That's the paperwork, right?
Okay, I am way too traditional for the Reform, but I am both too traditional and too liberal for the conservative, and I am too liberal and too Hasidic for the Orthodox, and for the Hasidic, I'm too liberal. I don't fit in anywhere. I really don't, seriously. But my point is that every place will have something to offer you. There's something called shul shopping if you're in an area that has enough congregations to choose from, and that's where you go attend. You go to a different place every Shabbat. Okay, get to know the rabbi, get to know the people who go there, and figure out which one you really feel the most comfortable with, and take advantage of all of their adult education. Don't limit yourself. Okay. Take advantage of all of their things that they have to offer. They may just have a party. It's socializing. They may have adult ed. We got Shavuot coming up. Okay, Saturday night, Sunday, Sunday night, Monday. Okay, my congregation, for example, is having Tikkun Leil Shavuot, which is a nighttime study sessions. Okay, traditionally they went all night long. Start about 9 or 10, and then go till past, Shachrit services. Okay, but my congregation, we tried it last year, nobody came. Well, that's not true. We had 6 people teaching. We had 2 people show up, so we had 8 people in attendance. Okay, this year we're starting at 7. We're going to be done at 11. But the idea is the same. Okay, there's no what's the word? There's no sign on every single synagogue that says, unless you are Jewish, do not come in.
Right.
Okay. If you're not Jewish, don't come in. There's words to that effect. Nobody says that. My house shall be a house of prayer for all people. Isaiah 49, something like 59. At any rate, the point is that, unless you become obnoxious or do something to insult and hurt people, come and join us. Mm-hmm. Enjoy us. Come in.
I think the first thing me and my wife has discussed, the first thing on the agenda is to get a formal conversion, mm-hmm. get it finished with, and move on, because that's what we feel that we need, I should say.
Right. I think that's great.
The best way to do that, okay, really is to move to a community where you can be known and know other people who are with you. Okay, mm-hmm. There's a reason why I have a half a dozen people in 2 or 3 or 4 states listening to me when I teach my Intro to Judaism class and asking questions and getting answers. That's what we do the first half of the class. It's an hour and a half program. 45 minutes I'm doing nothing but answering their questions. Okay. But I tell them from the beginning, I do not do long distance conversions. You need to be, there's a famous book. Okay, it's probably 60 years old by now, but there's a famous book. It's called Life is with People. And it's about the shtetl ghetto life of the Jewish community 16, 17, 1800s. Okay, what was it like living in a shtetl, like Fiddler on the Roof, Tovia Zanatevka? Okay, but the point of it is, yes, life is with people. Okay.
Yes.
The first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to move to an area that has a large enough Jewish community to have a synagogue. And then avail yourself of it. Take advantage of it. Take the classes. Talk to the rabbi. Get to know the people. Let them get to know you. And, of course, depending on your personality, because it's, got to be a match, okay, you'll make friends in the congregation. Okay, and you make them their own. Look, Judaism isn't conversion to Judaism isn't obtaining a PhD in Judaism. I know plenty of people who are doctorates in Judaism and are devout Christians. It's not just the factual knowledge obtaining for yourself. It is also the values acquisition. It's where you are not just knowing the facts of what it is to be a Jew. How do you light a Chanukah right to left? It's also that it's your holiday. It's not putting on a costume. It's not. It is. Thank you, Isaiah 56:7. My house will be a house of prayer for all peoples. I said 49:59. I was close. Okay, just kidding. All right. The point is that. You need a community, but conversion is not just acquiring the facts of Judaism, okay, the how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, it's the why to do it, it's knowing you have a specific relationship with God because God commanded you to do 613 commandments, give or take a few hundred. Less than half of the 613 are apply to any one person at any one time. But that's not my point. My point is that you have to be with the people. So the first thing you have to do is you have to move to a community that has the what's called the critical mass. The number of people where they're more apt to have the congregation that'll be compatible with you. Are you following what I'm saying? Does it make sense?
Exactly. Yes, perfectly. And I understand that because it's a whole support system. It's everything.
It's part of a community. We are a nation defined by our religion, but we are still a nation and a people. And you can't merely know the religion and not join the people and hopefully have the people join you. Okay, that's the thing.
All right, Rodney. Brother, thank you so much, man. Hope that answered your question.
It certainly did. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. All right, you have a great week, man.
And we're here to help.
We wish you success on your journey, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Shalom, shalom.
Yes, sir. Oh.
Okay, take care. Okay, cool. Okay, all right.
So
no. Actually, he called back once, but then he didn't try back.
We'll call again.
No, we actually don't have time. We've got
no fun.
No, right. We've got the phone lines are actually off right now. We are going to cover the main topic of the show, which is definitely going to take us past our hour, and I wouldn't be so cranky if I wasn't so tired. I'm like really, really lacking some sleep. But I don't want to miss this topic because this is something we need to actually get on the air. So just real quickly, let me make sure I can do one thing real fast. Hang on. Boom. Okay, good. Okay, so the hot topic for tonight is: has the church replaced the Jews? That's what a lot of Christianity actually teaches. We find this replacement theology pushed and anti-Semitism all the way through your Christianity. I'll say, I won't say through the New Testament. I'll say through Christianity. And what we'll find, I had a secondary title. I don't know if we'll get to that, but that's the one I'm going to start with. So,
we'll do that next week.
yeah, we'll have to do that next week. So this replacement theology has the church replaced the Jews? That's what we want to find out. Where does the idea come from, and what does the Torah say? What does God say? What's His opinion? That's what we want to discuss right now.
All right. All right. So we have to go first to Hebrews. Okay, I believe it's 8.
Let me put this up here too.
Yeah.
Where is my Bible software? Oh, there you are. Wrong screen. What verse are you looking for?
It's chapter 8. Okay, take a look at 8:8. Hebrews 8:8.
Okay, so for finding fault with them... Okay, let me back up. Hold on. No, it's verse 7. So, for if the first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for a second.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. So then it says, for finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, saith the Eternal, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Eternal. Mm-hmm. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Eternal. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God. I love this translation. And they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Eternal, for they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. And this is where Hebrews 8:13, this is where Paul picks up, and he says, in that he, Jeremiah, says, this is a quote from Jeremiah 31, okay, in that he, that's Jeremiah, said, a new covenant, he has made the first one old. Now that which decays and waxes old is ready to vanish away. I think of all the statements made in the Christian's New Testament, I think that is one I find to be pretty close to the most insulting to God and to Judaism.
Explain.
Well, first of all, it accuses God of being a liar. So just real quick, take a look at Psalm 105.
You go ahead and read it off. I'm still trying to get it to come up on screen. I've got a little...
All right, well, don't worry about it.
Technical issue.
This is Psalm 105, verses 8 to 10. He, that's God, remembers his covenant forever, the word he had commanded to the 1,000 generations, which he had made with Abraham, had his oath to Isaac, and he set it up to Jacob as a statute, to Israel as an everlasting covenant. Okay. oh, wait a minute, that's not necessarily, that's a psalm. Psalms are written by humans. Okay. Well, what about Jeremiah 46:27? Fear not, O Jacob my servant, and be not dismayed, O Israel. For behold, I will redeem you from afar, and your children from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return and to be quiet and at ease, and there shall be none who disturb his rest. Fear not, my servant Jacob, says the Eternal, for I am with you. For I will make a full end of all nations where I have driven you, but of you I will not make a full end, but I will chastise you justly, and I will not completely destroy you. Okay. There's a Torah. This one I may have to find. Give me a second. And it's Leviticus, and I think it's 26.
What's the verse reference?
Let's see.
What's the topic?
It's where he mentions the covenant with God, the covenant with Abraham, the covenant with Isaac, and the covenant with Jacob. Here it is, Leviticus 26, verse 42. By the way, this is extremely important to note. Okay. Leviticus 26:42. Do you have it up?
I do. Then I will remember my covenant with Jacob, and also a covenant with Isaac,
and also my covenant and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. So the question is, every time God makes a covenant, does it replace, renounce, deny, destroy the covenants that God made previous to that? And the answer is clearly no. Right. How do we know that? Because if it says, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob. If the covenant with Jacob destroyed, replaced, deleted, whatever, the covenant with Isaac, God would not also have to say, and also my covenant with Isaac. And if the covenant with Isaac had destroyed, defeated, renounced, whatever the word is, that with God's covenant with Abraham, in the Leviticus 26:42, God would not have said, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember. Every covenant God makes with the Jewish people reaffirms and reestablishes all the covenants that God made before that. Or else all God would have had to have said was, I'll remember my covenant with Jacob and I will remember the land. That's not what it says. It says, I will remember the covenant with Jacob and the covenant with Isaac and the covenant with Abraham, because every subsequent covenant God makes reaffirms the previous covenants. They don't replace them. They don't deny them. They don't destroy them, whatever word you want to use, because the covenant God makes with the people of Israel is eternal, and God says that repeatedly.
Yeah, and
let's see. Ezekiel 16:59-60. For so said the eternal God, I have done with you as you did, that you despised an oath to violate a covenant. But I shall remember my covenant with you in the days of your youth, and I shall establish for you an everlasting covenant.
Nice.
Okay. Jeremiah 32:37-40. Behold, I will gather the Jews from all the lands where I have driven them with my anger and with my wrath and with great fury, and I will restore them to this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God, and I will give them one accord and one way to fear me, actually respect me is better, all the time, so that it be good for them and for their children after them, and I will form for them an everlasting covenant, that I will not turn away from them to do them good, and my fear I will place in their hearts, not to turn away from me. Jeremiah 32:37-40. Tons and tons of verses, not only in the Torah, but also in the Nach, in the prophets and the writings, where God talks about how the covenant God made with the Jewish people is eternal.
And remember, Paul is one of the many who actually is telling you, the Christian, if you're watching this, that the Old Testament is the Old Testament. There is no Old Testament. There's the Hebrew Scriptures, and then there's the Christian
Testament.
It's such
an insulting name.
It absolutely is. It's not.
It's an insult to say that my covenant, that I am a part of, that God made with the Jewish people as a people at Mount Sinai, and explicitly said it's an eternal covenant, And what's the sign of that eternal covenant? It's the eternal observance of Shabbat, of the Sabbath. That is the eternal sign of the eternal covenant between God and the Jews.
You know what I think? I feel like Paul, the Apostle Paul, was like a crooked mechanic. You know, you take your car in to get the battery swapped out, and then he says, well, you can't just get your battery swapped out. You've got to get new brakes because, and then he tells you why. So he creates a need for you, tells you why you need the brakes, and then he says, hey, look what I've got right here. I've got new brakes for you right here. Just happen to have exactly what you need. Right. And it's crooked.
It's like the salespeople on a television ad for a detergent, and they come out with the new and improved. Don't get that old detergent. Get the new and improved detergent.
And there was nothing wrong with the old stuff.
Bad and whatever. This is the new one. Get the new one. And that's what they do with our Judaism, with our eternal covenant between God and us, God and the Jewish people. Get the new covenant, not that old covenant, that bad covenant. Get the new and great covenant. And it's insulting.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is why Jews who respect themselves and Jews who respect God and God's covenant would never call our Hebrew scriptures the Old Testament. It's an insult. The term itself is an insult.
Yeah.
So I don't know how else to say that God already has a covenant made with every single descendant of Noah, which is every human on planet Earth. Okay, it's called the covenant of, with Noah, the 7 laws, all that stuff. Okay, and then God made a covenant with the Jewish people that is eternal. And God, like a parent who loves the child, may get mad at the child, may punish the child, but will always love the child and will not disown the child. Okay, that's God with the Jewish people.
Right. One thing I'd like to say, too, to the viewers out there, to challenge your Christian friends, or if you're a Christian, I challenge you right now. Sure, if the Christianity says that in the Old Testament Jesus is all throughout the Old Testament, but we know he's not because we've looked and he's not there. They say he's got all these prophecies that he fulfilled, but then we look and he didn't fulfill one single prophecy. So let's narrow this down. If Jesus maybe might have looked like he fulfilled one prophecy, let's just say there's a verse in the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scripture, that might possibly allude to maybe they're talking about Jesus, maybe, right? But then you've got 50 for every one that you think is a maybe. You've got 50 that says absolutely not. Do you cling to the one that says maybe, or do you pay attention to the ones that says absolutely not? And the thing about it is the absolutely nots are very crystal clear. God said, I was in the beginning. It was only me. He didn't say it was only us. He said it was only me. I was here alone. I did this all by myself, right? So, you got to really stop checking your brain at the door. I hate to say that, but I was told that myself. And after I thought about that, I'm like, wait a minute. He's saying I can't use my own thoughts to process, to calculate, to try to find this stuff out for myself, to be like the Bereans, that are so highly acclaimed in the New Testament, to search these things out to find out whether they're true or not. And I'm thinking, I really haven't been. I've been listening to the pastors. I've been listening to everybody instead of looking it up for myself. And the moment you do, you're going to find it. Show me anywhere where it blatantly says you will no longer have to offer sacrifices because I'm sending a man, I'm sending someone who is going to take care of it all for you. You won't find it there. I'm not talking about crazy eluding type things. I'm talking about a blatant prophecy. Tons of prophecy about Messianic times. God had plenty of room to insert something that points to Jesus, and there is nothing there. There's only twisted scriptures that the New Testament uses to point out what they're trying to make you believe the Hebrew scriptures actually says, and it's not even in the right language. So keeping all that in mind, I challenge you out there. Send me an email, William at TanakTalk.com. Send Rabbi an email. By the way, Rabbi, love your book.
Excellent. By the way, another one is Judges chapter 2, verse 1. And the angel of the Eternal came up from Gilgal to Bochim, and he said, I made you go up out of Egypt and have brought you to the land which I swore to your ancestors. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you.
Right. Never.
And why do they call it Bochim? Why is it? Because verse 5, verse 4. And it came to pass when the angel of the Eternal spoke these words to all the children of Israel that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochim, which means weeping, and they sacrificed there unto the Eternal. So clearly, Judges 2:1, the angel of the Lord is speaking to the Jewish people because they're the ones who heard the voice and started weeping when they heard it, that God says, my covenant is eternal with you. So, don't you love it?
I love it. I love it a lot. I like it.
All right, one more thing that we forgot to discuss.
Do I need to turn my music back down?
Yes, you need to turn your music off.
Oh, okay. Go for it. It's all you, baby.
Williams equipment does not come free. Williams' new building does not come free. William has already contracted, and it's going up as we speak. And you need to make a contribution to William Hall and to Tanakh Talk so that he can keep these things coming. If you're enjoying what you hear, not just with me, not just with William, but with all the other people that William interviews and talks to and promotes, then take your hand, put it in your purse, put it in your pocket, pull out your wallet, and make donations. And by the way, William, how does one go about making a donation?
Tanakh Talk. I'm slowly getting used to this.
Good, I hope you do.
TanakhTalk.com. Look for the donate button at the top or the PayPal button at the bottom. If you don't have PayPal, there's a Patreon account, patreon.com/Tanakh Talk.
Right. And by the way,
yes,
I'm not talking to you, William.
Okay.
I'm talking to everybody out there. If they can make a donation that is monthly, that's even better than making it one time. So, it's nice to have William be able to rely on some money coming in, right, so he could say, oh, because I got this money coming in, I can make my down payment on the building I've already having built.
Right. Yeah, and all combined together is probably, I think there's close to $850 monthly that I'll be paying out on a regular basis until the building's paid off at least. And so, but yeah, so I could definitely use your help. This is for a long time I was like, I didn't really. I was doing it on my own anyway. But things as we're moving forward and as we're growing. It's like it's growing, but the financial part really isn't. So I mean, it kind of is actually. There's a lot of people out there who are reaching out, and some people like $5 a month, even something like that. I mean, even there's one guy, this Randy Reese friend on Facebook. I mean, I hope he didn't mind me saying this, but I mean,
yeah, I was wondering if you're allowed by him to tell everybody.
It's too late now. So Randy, love you, man. But anyway, he's set it up for $5 a month. But I mean, if there's 50 of you guys who do the same thing, that makes a huge difference in chipping away at the monthly bills. So I really appreciate that, Rabbi. That's amazing. So and thank you guys too. It's a fun journey. I'll tell you, it's this whole thing. It's I can't imagine it going any other way. I mean, it's going to happen that one of these days that the Tanakh Talk will be a full-time adventure. Right now, I'm still doing construction for our family, but one of these days it's going to be just full-time Tanakh Talk and full-time broadcasting. So, Baruch Hashem willing, that's going to happen soon. So there you go. There's the rest of this bill. Rabbi, I love you. You're an awesome dude.
I love you too. By the way, you said you're still working on construction for your family? Well, you know that could be implied that you're having another baby.
Oh, hey man, that would be great. I would love that. If I could have like 6 or 8 more, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, let's talk to your wife. I mean, see if she agrees with you.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, sweet Rabbi, love you, man, and thank you all for tuning in. I
love you too.
It's been fun, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Shalom, shalom. Take care.
חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. אני אתה אתם תמיד כולם ביחד. חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה